Hey, this is Sunday night. It's October 23rd. I'm Warren Sprouse. You're on the Bible Forum. We're going to have probably a very different Bible Forum tonight than we've had in the past, in part because of the technical issues, in part because of the material. But I have spent the last hour trying to figure out why, after 15 years of using Ustream, suddenly I can't save anything. Every once in a while it works, but not very often. And I think what is going to happen is that I'm going to continue doing it. I'll save the segments, but when we're all done, I can't guarantee what's going to be there. Generally, what's going to be there is the whole show in one lump. And if that's all we have, then I'll put that up to run through. But that'll be a 2-hour loop. Maybe you won't want to sit and watch 2 hours, try to find what you want, but you will be able to hurry through it. You can push the little thingy around and skip to the end or the middle or whatever, and you can come back some other time. If I had the time and it didn't drive me crazy, I could go in and edit them, and I might yet, but at this point, there's a frustration level that has set in, and I'm not quite sure how this is all going to work out. This is the next to the last Sunday in October. Next weekend will be our Halloween, All Hallows Eve celebration, where all things evil get to be paraded around the countryside. We here in South Carolina do something called trunk or treat. I don't know if you ever heard of it before. I never did. And churches and other groups do the same sort of thing, and they bring in vehicles, trucks, cars, whatever. They pull them head into this open field or walkway or whatever it might be, so that there's cars all the way around you, and the trunks are open, or the back of the truck is open, and it has all kinds of stuff in there. And you just come in and they play games and stuff, and you get what you want and eat and stuff, but you don't have to go through all the ghoulish nonsense, and the kids don't have to go out and knock on doors, something that is becoming ever more dangerous to do. It's even scary to watch. People come to our door here in our neighborhood, a lot of children, and they've all got adults with them, and sometimes you just wonder. Anyway, I spent Monday in a little place called Beaufort, South Carolina. We laid to rest the mortal remains of our dear friend Nash Green on Monday afternoon at high noon at the VA cemetery there outside of, why does it go blank on me all the time? Where the Marines do their basic training. It'll come in the middle of some other statement, but it was really neat. Nash's family locally is 3 hours, 5 hours from Beaufort, South Carolina, and he has family spread out. There were folks that came from the other side of North Carolina. Some came from even further away than that. There were about 30-some folks who showed up, and it was really nice, and I'm sure that his mother appreciated that no end. Pray for Louise. She's going to move to Pittsburgh and live with a daughter, and she probably may have already done that. I don't know. I'm going to call tomorrow, find out what's going on. But it's been an interesting few weeks. We have our Christmas books for sale. You got the email. These are the books sitting next to me. If you would like to have one, you can go online, you can click the link, and you can buy either with PayPal or credit card or something of that nature. It comes within a week or 10 days, something like that. They actually have to make the book, so it takes them a while before it ships, but you get notification of that. If you'd like it signed by the author, let me know. I'm offering them at about $10 a piece. I have to ship them to you, and I've already paid for them and had them shipped here. It'll cost you about the same. They're $7.95. If you ordered a book, they'd charge you $3 for shipping. I won't charge you more than that. So if that's what you'd like to have. Some of you are getting shirts. You get the polo shirts. You give $30 a month or more, committed for a year. My dear friend Russ in North Carolina has begun to do that, and we're having an awful mess with the shirts. He wanted a double X large, and I sent what the package said, and it turned out to be a medium or a large or something. I don't know what it was. But Russ, if you're listening, I have ordered you 2 shirts, but it's going to take a little longer than I thought because the fellow that I deal with there in Wilmington has changed suppliers, and we have spent 3 days going back and forth with emails as to what color thread and how all that's working out. So it's probably going to be Monday or Tuesday before they get around to actually making the shirts, and then they will ship them directly to you. So give it another 10 days, and we'll get all the details ironed out, and those shirts will come. I think they're a great Christmas gift. Maybe you don't want to go around advertising the Bible Forum. It's a conversation starter, if it's nothing else. Have you been to our Facebook page? Maybe you don't realize it, but we have 3. It's because we're affluent and we're not too bright. I set up a Facebook page years ago for the Bible Forum, and it turned out to be a personal page. I didn't know there was a difference. And several years later, I canceled that one. It said if you don't activate it, if you don't go on it, I think for 10 days or something, I forget what the timing was, then it would go away. Well, it's pretty much like other things you don't want. It never goes away. But I did start another page. It is a Bible Forum page. It's I don't know what they call it. I call it a business page. It's different. We don't get into, every time you post something on my webpage, my thing, I get it. I don't get all that stuff. But I post to that one. I've been posting to 3 because I ended up doing another one thinking maybe I could compensate for the other 2. It didn't work out any better. And so I've been posting things to all 3. This week I started posting only to 1, to the Bible Forum page. It's identifiable because it doesn't have my name on it. Both of them have the same picture, what you see when you go to the website, but one of them has my name and the other says Bible Forum. There will be some things that do get shown on the personal page, but every time that happens, it will say, check the other one. And you need to check it. You need to like it. I think that's the phrase. If you say, yes, I liked it, anything I put up there, you would get. We also have a Twitter feed. Those are little short things that get popped up. I usually throw a picture up there with it and everything. Sign up for that as well so that you can stay abreast. As time goes on, I find that I don't have long periods of time to work on projects, and so little short things are starting to pop up, and I like to get them out to you as soon as possible. What else? I don't know. Anyway, we are going to be looking at some of the articles that were on the Facebook page this week. I posted one that I called America at the End of the Age, and it highlights what has been going on with the Hobby Lobby stores. You know the story. CEO, founder, owner David Green has just released an open letter explaining to anybody that wants to read it, listen to him, that they are seriously considering closing down the Hobby Lobby stores. This is really a big deal. It's a big business, but the battle is still raging, and it's couched in legal terms, whether a privately held company can be exempt from providing benefits that clearly violate their strongly held religious beliefs. But the real issue is biblical standards. Here in America, our society, our government, just about anything you can think, they don't want to hear about biblical standards. Our government has exempted thousands of companies from this same mandate. It's all about insurance, providing insurance to their employees and what kinds of services that they would pay for. And the government is saying, no, you have to provide abortion on demand. You have to provide for sex changes for transgenders and things of that nature. They have made exceptions for other companies. They won't make an exception for these folks. Now, if they were to convert to Islam, no doubt they could do whatever they want. And that sounds like I'm being sarcastic, but it's true. Biblical Christian beliefs in America are now public enemy number one. What are they afraid of? They're afraid of values, like love God more than anything else in the world, like honor your parents, your father, your mother, like love your children, love your wife, submit to recognized authority, don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, don't kill, work for what you get, look out for your neighbor, treat all people with respect. These are now verboten. You are not allowed to hold to these values. But these are the principles that have undergirded our society as long as we've been here. And they are the same principles that support strong societies that try them, whoever they may be and wherever they may be. These are the principles that our generation fears. And the only reason they fear them is because they come with Jesus. And Jesus is the universal enemy. Not the Jesus of religion, but the Jesus of the Bible. You know, the one that died for your sin. What do you mean he died for my sin? I don't have any sin. You see how it goes? The one who calls people to repentance and to faith. The one who motivates people to love their neighbors as themselves and to honor life, authority structures, honest weight and measure. The one who stands against abortion on demand, against homosexuality. You know, the one who must be eliminated if this world is to finally get its own way. David Green says if we refuse to comply, we could face a $1.3 million per day fine from the government. He sees our government threatening to find job creators in this bad economy, to find a company that's raised wages 4 years running, to find a company, a family for running its business according to their own beliefs and values. And he agrees with everybody else that has common sense. This is not right. He says, I know people will say we ought to follow the rules, that it's the same for everybody. But that's just not true. Welcome to America at the end of the age. There's another principle that is a biblical principle. It has to do with children, families, having children, that sort of thing. And Communist China set out back in the late 1970s to change all of that. They don't want anything to do with biblical values. And so they set up what is called a one-child program. You've heard of it, you've seen it, people have talked about it, maybe you've read about it, how families are sneaking around to have more than one child, how that other families are killing the little girl babies when they're born. They've only allowed one. They want a son, somebody that can work the field with them, somebody that can, continue the family name and that sort of thing. Well, this has been going on 30-some years now. And guess what? China has changed its policy. They're having a demographic problem. The birth rates have plummeted to where now there are fewer and fewer workers. And China's overall population is aging at a very rapid rate. Instead of growing rich, they're just getting old. Like European nations and Japan, who don't have these policies, they want to have an opportunity to accumulate before they actually die. It has the Communist Party worried, so worried that they are willing to abandon this sacrosanct policy. They not only dropped the one-child policy, they've tried to convince Chinese couples that having 2 children is their patriotic and political duty. You know what happened. These kids don't want 2 children. This is second, third generation of people who've not had 2 children. I don't want 2 kids. These people can't win. Clumsy party propaganda is telling people to, quote, train your body, build up strength, get ready for that second baby. They've got another slogan that says, get to sleep early, stop playing cards, work hard, and produce a child. And the population, their response is either yawning or just outrage. Officials in one province east of Shanghai sent a letter to party members urging them to implement the new 2-child policy. And what they got back was outrage on Chinese social media. One person wrote, you can't just make people have kids when you want them to, or stop when you tell them. We're humans, not pigs. Even the state-run media called the letter ridiculous and illegal. The Chinese people's response, or lack of it, has put the party plans to arrest the demographic decline in serious doubt. The goals were 2.5 million births this year, and that's not going to happen. Even with the new policy, in the long run, they say it is very unlikely that fertility will go above 1.5 children per couple. In contrast, Christianity sees children as gifts of God, the natural, desirable result of the loving, lifelong commitment and physical union of husband and wife. And as the saying goes, ideas have consequences, to which I would like to add, and really disastrous ideas have consequences that endure long after the disaster has become obvious to everybody involved. Here on the home front, we Americans love our God. We love our Bible. We're just a little fuzzy on the details. During a Saturday broadcast on MSNBC, North Carolina NAACP President Reverend William Barber claimed the white evangelicals are engaging, quote, in a form of heresy, end of quote. How is that? Well, by supporting GOP presidential nominee Donald Trump. Even though the Donald has been accused of violence toward women, even though the Donald wants to take people's health care and to deny other people a living wage, these so-called Christians want to vote for him. It goes on to say what we see with the so-called evangelical right or white is a form of heresy, a form of theological malpractice. He says, I'm an evangelical, and evangelicalism in the Bible starts with a critique of systems of poverty. It's very easy, he said. He went on to quote Luke chapter 4, verse 18, where Jesus Christ read from Isaiah the prophet, where he said he was sent to preach to the poor and to heal the brokenhearted. He then added, it's a strange form of theology that traces back to those who were able to support slavery on Monday and then go to church on Sunday. where you somehow dismiss all of these issues. You dismiss a candidate that wants to take people's health care. You say, that's Christian. When he wants to deny living wages, you don't have any criticism. Now, even with all the violence and the pathology that's being alleged toward women and the rest of it, you begin to suggest as long as he's right on the Supreme Court and prayer and in school and tax cuts, that somehow that's the Christian position. He concluded by saying that's actually theological malpractice, something that borders on heresy in the 21st century. Do you agree with that? What was Jesus preaching when he went and quoted from Isaiah to preach to the poor, to heal the brokenhearted? He was talking about the poor in spirit. He was talking about the broken hearts of people who didn't love their God. Jesus did not preach a social gospel. These folks have made it into that, but he did not. He walked this planet as the one true God of heaven in physical form. But he did not do away with poverty while he was here. He did not do away with slavery. He did not do away with the murderous reign of these Romans and others that were in power, and different Greeks and Persians and whatever around the world. He didn't stop any of that. And he could have stopped it with one word. And he didn't do it. It's interesting that we as human beings and some as Christians like to cherry pick. We just grab what we'd like that supports the thing that we are most interested in at the moment. Are you anxious? Do you find anxiety being a part of your life? Most of us really are. There was a recent article, and I don't subscribe, but I saw the excerpt. A recent article in Rolling Stone magazine. And it said that we're living in the age of fear. No, it's not fear of getting robbed, mugged, raped, murdered. It's not fear of losing your job or your children having some problems or whatever. It's all about the election. If this election cycle is a mirror, the article said, then it is reflecting a society choked with fear. It's not just threats of terrorism, economic collapse, cyber warfare, government corruption, each of which are some 70% of our citizenry claims is a concern, and it makes them feel fearful. The article goes on to blame this fear, more accurately anxiety, on fear mongering. Now you can guess who the fear mongers are. Well, it's mass media, it's big business, it's probably conservative Christians and conservative politicians as well. The author says, I'm wondering if the ultimate cause of widespread fear and anxiety is actually the loss of an eschatological perspective in Western society. And I know, what? Eschatological? Has to do with final things, the end of the age, the coming of Christ, the rapture of the church, things. How's this thing going to wrap up? For most of Christian history, Christians in the West have lived by the maxim, in the world, but not of the world. It's a concept taken from the Gospel of John, chapter 17. It presents the idea that Christians are living in this world, but they don't have to partake of all that it provides. What is more, we believe that God dwells in us. We also believe that we are participating in that eternal life, even as we live it here. When does eternal life begin? At the moment of salvation. And so, as ambassadors of Christ to a lost world, we are in that world, but we're not really partaking of it the way others do. This knowledge, for Christians, it's a reality, provides consolation and a certain amount of freedom from the anxieties that most people have to deal with. All right, now in a recent survey from Pew Forum, we learned that 72% of Americans still believe in heaven and 58% believe in hell. They just no longer live as though either of these is true. Why is that? Well, because most people in this world are not saved. They may go to church, they call themselves Christians, but they're not redeemed. They do not have a new nature. They do not have that new life. We've become a very anxious society. Just ask the pharmaceutical companies. But the reality is we have corporately lost that eschatological perspective, that idea that there is a future, that this is coming to a conclusion, and the conclusion is well laid out, and it's not pleasant. Our anxieties are from all the stuff that's going on in the world. Would that there could be anxiety towards your final resting place, either in heaven or in hell. Here's the top 10 things that Americans apparently fear. 60% of us fear a corrupt government. Yeah. 41% are fearful of a terrorist attack. 40% are afraid of not having enough money for the future. 38% are afraid of terrorism in general. 38% are afraid of government restrictions on firearms and ammunition. You realize that in September, gun dealers sold 1.9 million guns to Americans. 1 month. Set a record. It set a record for the 17th month in a row. These people cannot make guns fast enough for Americans. I told you years ago, the statistic says that there are more guns in the state of Pennsylvania than there are in all the standing armies of the world. Doesn't factor in the South, the West, the Northwest, places where people hunt, trap all the time. There isn't anybody coming after your guns unless they do it by law. And then law-abiding citizens are going to feel like they have to abide by the law or become criminals. I can't even picture police officers and military types coming around to collect guns if it were to be a wholesale collection. The people who want our guns are in serious, serious trouble. They don't know what to do. 38% of people are afraid of the ones we love dying. We don't like to lose people. 37% are concerned about the economic financial collapse that's right around the corner, has been for as long as I've been on the planet. 37% are afraid of identity theft. I'm always amazed when people tell me that they don't have a credit card because they're afraid somebody will get hold of it and they'll run up a bill and this and that and the other. I ran into somebody just this week, another one. Or other people who go out and spend $50 50 a month or whatever it costs for some of these programs that let you know if somebody's trying to do something with your credit. When the reality is, if you're just using a credit card the way you normally, the way rational people would use it, and there is any charge that shows up on your credit card that you don't recognize, all you have to do is call and say, "That's not me." And they say, "Oh, okay." And they take it off. Just like that. If you're in the habit of paying your bill on time and for some reason, because of a holiday, a weekend, or whatever, the bill doesn't get paid on time and they hit you with a $25, $35 fee, what do? You call them up and you say, "I don't want to pay that." And they say, "Oh, okay." They don't say that? They say that to me every single time. Because I pay on time. And the reason I give them is rational. I set it up to go with my bank. It was to pay on Friday. Monday was a holiday. It didn't get there till Tuesday. It was a day late. They took it off. Not a problem. Do that every month and you've got a problem. We're concerned about people we love becoming seriously ill. We're concerned about the Affordable Health Care Act, Obamacare. 35% of us worry about that. And you can add your own fears to that anytime you want. We have a nation swimming in debt. And at the same time, we have a younger generation that's not even looking for work. That's the legacy of the welfare mentality. We're going to take a little break. I'm going to try to save this recording. It may or may not work. And when we come back, I want to talk to you about Russia and about China and about Western globalism and biblical prophecy. Stay with me.